Welcome to the 11th episode of StreamCast with me, James Rutherford, also known as Charizard James on Twitch and other social media platforms, where we take a deep dive into the lives of all your favorite streamers and content creators. Here with us today is the prolific content creator, DEATHSIE. Take a minute to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is DEATHSIE. I stream Magic the Gathering. I play mainly Limited, which is the drafting format. Think Arena in Hearthstone. Also, I've been in esports for probably about 6 years now, doing basically every odd job, every single position out there from a tournament producer all the way to a tournament commentator. So, hello, great to have you here.
I saw some
Great
images.
to be here. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you. All right, thank you.
Great to have you here.
Thank you for being
Hello,
here.
welcome to my home, Charizard James.
All right, there we go. I did see a couple images of you being a caster. I didn't know that you cast tournaments. What is it? How did you get into that?
Tournament commentating was really strange. I got my start there with one of my friends, Nick Seckler. He also known as Aquablod. He was a Hearthstone, like the Hearthstone Championship Tour commentator for the first year, I believe. And we did some commentating together on this random tournament website called Ghost of Gamers. And he basically reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, I love the way that you think and talk about the game, and I need a co-commentator. So if you'd like to come on 2-3 times a week and co-commentate Hearthstone with me, I really appreciate that." So we did that for a long time. Probably we did that for maybe 3-4 months, and that was kind of my first journey into the production side of esports. And I was very new to esports back then as well. I thought that just having an esports team was awesome. My very first esports team, I had to pay I think $50 for my own jersey, and I was like, "Whoa, this is awesome! I can't believe that they're organized teams and stuff, and you can go out to tournaments and play these games, and potentially win money
In other states
and
other countries."
Yeah. So this was when I was studying in the UK. So I was studying in Northeast England, and that's when I was playing a lot of Hearthstone, and that was my very, very first entry into esports. Had no idea about anything.
We have something in common that is pretty weird. I think it's weird. We both
Alright.
watch the same streamer that's not Magic related.
Mm-hmm.
And was Devin Nash a part of your entry into esports? Is that how that came about, or do you follow him for a different reason, or watch him for a different reason?
Yeah, so I think I've known Devin for maybe 2.5 years now. We met through my stream. We met through my stream through Magic the Gathering, and he found my stream because I think my Magic stream kind of blew up in early 2019, and he is kind of like the esports five-head savant, you know what I mean? And he has he has all these bots and stuff that track and scour Twitch for information.
He's like 18.
And apparently, yeah, exactly. And he basically he told me that one of his bots went haywire on my stream and was like, wee you.
What?
And yeah, and he was like, "Man, all of a sudden there's this random channel on Twitch that just exploded and blew up, basically out of nowhere, like a little Big Bang here on Twitch." And so he came by, check it out, and we've been friends ever since. But that was much later in my kind of evolution, my journey through esports.
Talk about the beginning. I know you talked about a little bit about your beginning of esports and casting. Talk about after Hearthstone. Then you talked about a few months that you were in Hearthstone. What did you do after that, and kind of what was your journey until today? Go ahead and start right after Hearthstone.
So right after Hearthstone, so the thing about Hearthstone is that Hearthstone has probably been the biggest impact on my esports career. Most of my really good friends that I'm still friends with today are friends that I made back in the Hearthstone days. So some streamers you might know, Tyler OOTD, he's a Hearthstone Grandmaster. We've been really good friends for like 5 years. Osaka, Hearthstone World Champion, one of my good friends in back in Hearthstone as well, even though, neither of us touch Hearthstone anymore. My best friend, Jenny No, she's also a streamer. She does like fitness and IRL stuff. We met probably 6 years ago through Hearthstone. Show's one of my best friends as well. And we met through Hearthstone. And for a long time, both of us were just streaming Magic, So just so many good friends. Ali Straza, who's also on Fate to Karma. Just Hearthstone was the biggest impact on my life, esports wise and games wise. So I did Hearthstone for a really long time. I think it was midway through 2018. I essentially stopped playing Hearthstone for both physical and mental health reasons. I was grinding the basically the tournament pro scene in Hearthstone, and it was just one of the most stressful periods of my life. I was extremely poor, not making any money, just living off of like random tournament winnings and like whatever team salary I had. It was just very upsetting that that kind of part of my Hearthstone and esports career. But outside of actually commentating on Hearthstone, I did a lot of television work in the UK. I was a co-host for a TV show in England called The Bridge on Jinx TV. That ran for about maybe a year and a half. I've worked with a lot of esports companies in terms of production and essentially figuring out how to leverage my marketing degree to help out their brand. So
what did a lot of work doing marketing things, or even just being behind the scenes in general for like huge esports company, or even being in the other other on stage things that you've done? What's it like being behind the scenes of huge esports companies?
I think being behind the scenes is interesting. It feels just like a normal job, but it has a theme of esports attached to it. The thing that you quickly realize in esports is that there are only two kinds of people. People who are extremely, extremely good at their job and are severely underpaid.
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, so these people would be extremely underpaid, and they probably should be getting paid like 3-4 times as much. And they probably would be getting that much if they were working in tech or whatever other industry where they could actually leverage their skills more. But it's either they're severely good at their job, or they're severely terrible at their job. They have absolutely no idea. You wouldn't hire them at a grocery store to bag your stuff, and that's kind of the experience I've had with esports. So you get this really interesting dichotomy between people who are so good to work with, and then people who have absolutely no idea what they're doing. Most of the time, the people who have no idea what they're doing are, like the team owners and stuff like that.
People that actually make all the money.
Yeah, well, people who don't really make the money, but they have the money and they want to invest into esports. That's a lot of what the scene was like, right? Where people had money, they wanted to get a first mover's advantage into esports, but they had no idea about business, about marketing. They had no idea about even video games, but they were there putting their money. So
not even video games. That reminds me of? That reminds me of some judges at tournaments. You ever played in a big tournament and you know the ruling, opponent's trying to shark you or something, and you know when the judge comes when the judge comes over to the table that they don't know what they're talking about. They're just like reading the card. You ask for a ruling, they like, can I read the card? And then they read the card, and you're like, no, that's not right. They tell you it's like BS ruling. No, that's not how it goes. And then you try to appeal, and it's just a whole process, and you're like, all right, you're my judge. You should know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. It's like kind of like that. Like people that are over you just
Yeah.
like have no clue what they're doing. You're doing all the work. You should be making 4 times as much as them. Is that? Are you still in esports right now, or is that kind of one of the reasons why you got out of esports?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is that for me, my personal definition of esports, it's basically everything that's gaming related. And I know that that's a very loose definition of esports that not everyone subscribes to. But for me, I think like streaming is esports. I think that basically anything that is gaming in the online space, whether that's commentating, whether that's it just doesn't really matter. It's to me loosely that's esports. Even if you're like an IRL streamer, on Twitch, I think that's I still consider that kind of esports tangent.
Mm-hmm.
So technically these days in like actual esports and stuff, I don't really do that much. Every once in a while, I get an old friend or something messaging me, trying to get me on board of the project. But it's really hard for me to break out of streaming. Like I have a lot of commitments when it comes to streaming.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have that much personal time either. So it essentially has to be more lucrative.
I definitely see the commitments that you've had during streaming. I've definitely tuned into one of your streams and you're like at a restaurant just eating.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. and you're just talking. I don't know if that happened once or if that happened multiple times, but I know for a fact I tuned into. I'm like, let's watch some Magic today, and you're like at a dinner at a freaking table outside. I'm like, I'm like, okay, well now I'm hungry. Thanks.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of level I think you have to have if you're streaming. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you say I have a streaming schedule of this and this day, like yeah, you can say I'm not gonna stream today, but maybe you do what you do and pull up the stream on your phone and start streaming from your hotel room or streaming from your dinner table. I don't know. Talk to me about that.
I think it's very difficult. One of the things about streaming that most people think is that you can just do whatever you want, right? But for the most part, you have to have a game plan. It has to be maybe not masterfully curated, but it has to be planned to some extent. So what I was doing while I was in Korea was essentially I was together with the best IRL streamers in the world. So I was like, what better opportunity is there to learn about IRL streaming and to see if that's something that I either want to transition into or if I want to maybe, do a little bit of in addition to my Magic the Gathering stream someday. So I kind of took this journey away from Magic and into IRL streaming for quite a while.
Was it a month or something like that? Was it a month or was it a little shorter than a month?
It was a little bit shorter than a month. There was a 2-week period where I just, for the first time in like 2.5 years, okay, that I stopped streaming Magic and I just did IRL streams. And that's where I learned that IRL streaming is not for me. It's actually just not for me. It's a lot of work with very little payoff, but I don't regret it at all. That's kind of the philosophy I have with streaming, is that you have to plan well, but you shouldn't be scared to try out some new things as long as you have a game plan in mind.
For someone that wants to try out IRL streaming versus gaming streaming, or maybe do the same thing that you did, is kind of flip back and forth. Do you think it requires more of a game plan, a specific game plan doing IRL streams than it does in games? Whereas in a game, you can just turn on the game and maybe start playing it and maybe have an objective of like doing this one thing. And even if you don't reach that objective, you're at least trying to do it the whole time and your audience is still engaged because you're trying to reach that objective. How is that different from like making a plan for IRL streams?
So I personally think that just chatting and IRL streaming is almost the future of just online entertainment. Just because, it takes a Magic the Gathering player to watch a Magic the Gathering stream. But anybody can watch a just chatting stream. Anyone can watch an IRL stream. So you aren't as tunnel visioned. You aren't as narrowly focused on an audience when you're not streaming a game. So I think that while that may be true, while you can have a much bigger audience and you can have a much better potential for growth with IRL streaming, the difference is that it is just so much work. It is so much work. You have to plan out super well. A lot of IRL streaming is planning out content, and it's not easy. You have to be a really, really shameless person as well in order to make good IRL content. You know, you can't really be just a shy person who's not willing to do stuff. You have to be a very special kind of person. So
There was a Devin Nash stream where it was like a date stream. I think that was the one that we saw each other on. I don't know if it was that exact one or not, but it was like a couple weeks ago or maybe a month ago. It was just like him on a date.
I think he was with I'm Jasmine.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, right. I think
he was with I'm Jasmine, who's now one of the biggest IRL streamers in Japan.
Yeah, he was on a date with her, and it was like super cold outside, and all they were doing was like walking through the cold back into their place, back into Devin Nash's place, and it was just like the most interesting thing I've seen. Like not the most interesting thing, but you know what I mean. Like the conversation they had about I'm pretty sure he's talked about this on stream himself, so I don't know, maybe I can talk about it, but his like ex being super crazy. And like watching his stream and talking about, you know, like super cringe things like that. Talking about that the entire time. I don't know if that was planned or not. Like probably not. But I feel like if it was me, like I don't think my life's that interesting to just like do an IRL stream. I feel like I'm just like too boring. I don't know. I'm like I go to work and then after work I stream and then like I eat and then I take a shower, go to bed. I don't know what else I do. I don't, especially during COVID. I wonder how IRL. I wonder how IRL stream how COVID affects IRL streaming too. I don't know.
So I personally think that the numbers didn't shoot up as much as I expected they would, but they did increase a lot, and a lot of that is about people who can't go out and essentially living vicariously through others, and kind of following people on their journey and on their adventure. So it's been a very interesting experience with IRL streaming during COVID, because at the same time the IRL streamers can't really do that much either, so like Korea, Japan, those are basically the two places that you can do IRL streaming. So it's been hard for everybody, but the IRL streamers are working really, really hard. So
oh yeah
yeah.
I wonder what kind of content that they're like scripting that they're gonna do for the next week. Okay, this week I'm gonna go to the park, and then I'm gonna go to this grocery store. Is that how you have to think about it, or or like at some point it's got to be like, okay, well this isn't actually your life. You're just creating content, or no?
Yep. Yeah. So it's basically exactly like that. People will create plans, especially during the warmer months, plans to go places and to do stuff with other people. During the colder months, people are planning like desktop stream content with just random events and stream ideas to do at home. So it's a lot of work, and it's a lot harder than just turning on my computer, opening Magic Arena, do the same crap I do every single day. So
hunting
even though
number one mythic.
Yep.
Just every day.
Even though you can reach a wider demographic, wider audience, and many, just many more viewers, it's a lot more work. So.
And I mean, you kind of if you don't want to play a game and you want to do an IRL stream, you kind of have to go into it knowing that it's going to be so much work, right? And if you're not willing to put in that work, then you're just not going to succeed, like at all.
Yeah.
But going into it, you might not know it's that much work to being an IRL streamer, or even variety streamers, right? Even if you're playing games and you're playing variety, you have to have those people that follow you and sub to you just because they like you, not they like the things that you're doing, right?
I think that's streaming in general, actually. Yeah.
Well, that's
where it's like, everyone always underestimates just how hard it is. Just how hard just random aspects are. For example, one of the things that people really underestimate is the loneliness that a lot of streamers kind of go through, which is basically my life. Like, I've been quarantining for years before Corona. You know what I mean? Like, streaming
Oh, for sure.
If you
Yeah.
want to be a really successful streamer, and if you're streaming a lot, like I am, you just don't have a life. You don't see people. You don't go outside.
That's why.
Delivery boxes.
That's why when you said what week is it or what day is it?
Yo, yeah, like happy whatever day of the week it is. I've got no idea. Absolutely no idea. So it's a lot of random stuff that people don't really think about. That is really hard. Just being a streamer.
Newsflash. It's Monday, by the way.
Oh, it's Monday.
Yeah.
Wow. Happy Monday, everybody.
Yeah, you just figured that one out. I do want to talk to you. I do want to get a little bit of a DEATHSIE flashback here.
Sure.
Talk about your first days streaming. Talk about your first month or maybe even first 6 months streaming. How
Wow.
how fast did you grow? Even for the new streamers that are listening to this, or maybe people that want to start streaming. Talk about those first baby steps into streaming. In your streaming career.
So, I think that I had been streaming for about 3 years on and off, just infrequently during my Hearthstone days. And honestly, I had a really terrible mindset when I first started streaming. I was like, I'm so good at I'm so good at Hearthstone that people should be honored to watch my stream whenever I stream. I don't need a streaming schedule. I don't need to stream like a lot. I don't need to be there every single day. I'll just stream whenever I feel like it. And I would stream like long hours. I would stream like maybe once a week or something, but it would be like a 12-hour stream or something. And I thought that was the way that you should stream, which is basically the opposite of what I think now. Excuse me. But yeah, so I had been streaming Hearthstone for a long time before Magic. I was streaming Hearthstone. I streamed like some Tetris. I streamed everything. I streamed a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. I streamed Mahjong. I streamed Artifact for quite a while. Artifact was probably one of the more successful streams I had.
Remember that $1 million?
I averaged like 50 $1 million tournament. I averaged about 50 viewers, I think, which was really good for me.
Wow.
Yeah, streaming Hearthstone, a good day for me was like 30 viewers. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I streamed like that a lot for Magic, and then in the beginning, 2018, I believe, 2018, end of 2018, beginning of 2019, I just YOLO'd full time every day, basically the opposite of what I just said. On at the same time every single day, 7 days a week, streaming Magic.
7 days a week.
Yeah, 7 days a week. For probably about 7 or 8 months, I didn't take a single day off.
Was it about like 5-hour streams, 4-hour streams?
10 to
10 hours?
Yeah, something like that. So,
okay, so when you say no life, you mean actually no life?
Yeah, like actually no life. Like, hey, maybe I can watch one episode of the anime I wanted to watch before I go to bed for like 4 or 5 hours.
Did you eat? I mean, you must have lost so much weight.
I saved a lot of time by eating once a day. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 head strats.
That's a 7 head right there. Someone.
Yep.
Wow. Someone call the stream doctor. That's what we're calling Destiny now. The stream doctor. Everyone listening to this, stream for 8 months in a row every single day of the week for 10 hours a day. All right, I don't think I'm serious about that. Are you serious about? I don't know. Maybe you should. Probably.
It's one simple trick how to potentially get a chance of getting big on Twitch.
I don't even know if I want to hear this.
And just stream nonstop every single day at the same time. Be consistent, be good at your game. Just stream every single day nonstop, have no life, and just be the best of the game or one of the best in the games. That's it. Simple trick.
Yeah, easy clap.
That's my secret.
Easy clap. We're done here.
Yeah, easy clap.
We don't need you anymore.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
The secrets are out, guys.
Yeah. Wipe that off your shoulder. Yeah. So let's talk about. You said earlier, a few minutes ago, that you quote unquote blew up how long into you streaming Magic or into your streaming every day, did that start happening for you?
I think it was probably about 2 or 3 months. I think 2 or 3 months. I could be wrong. I'm really bad with time and stuff, but it felt like it was about 2 or 3 months, and then not too much longer after that, I got partnered, but I got partnered after I got rejected maybe about 6 or 7 times from from like partnership applications and stuff. So it took a really, really long time for me
6 or 7 months, or six or seven. Can you apply just once a month, or can you just keep applying over and over again?
So I applied quite a few times over my streaming career. But at multiple times in my Magic the Gathering streaming, even when I had I think there were times when I had 4, 5, 600 viewer average with 800 unique subscribers or something, I was still getting turned down from Twitch.
What? How?
For getting partnered. And basically all my friends were like, hey, did you piss off somebody at Twitch or something? So maybe there's also a Twitch intern out there that's who really hates me.
I mean, at that point, you just have to answer yes to that question, right? Like someone actually is there behind the scenes. Just this DEATHSIE person, blacklist.
Yeah, it was really funny because again, I'm pretty decently connected in esports, and all my friends are so mad. People who knew me, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna send a message to this person," and then someone else is like, "I'm gonna send a message to my contact." And it was really funny. I don't know who the intern was or who was handling my account, but I'm pretty sure that they got in trouble. So
it was an inside.
That's good.
It was an inside story. One of your friends was jealous and just denied your application. No, probably not. They were probably much bigger than you were at the time. But
yeah.
when you had 500 to 600 viewers and what you were talking about there, what was the transition? Do you think there was anything you did different between when you started streaming every day until you made partner? Was there anything you did differently, or was it just stream for X amount of time, get X good at the game, and then that's it?
Yeah, so I'm always looking for random ways to improve my stream, but between that time, I really didn't do anything differently. No, there's nothing differently.
Your personality is just infectious.
I think so. You know what? One of the things was that that was when I joined. That was around the time when I joined a Tempo Storm. So that might have played a role in me actually getting partnered, which I hate to think about it that way because I want to think that I got partnered on my own. You know what I mean? But, there's some chance that it was actually because of the leverage of me joining Tempo Storm that I actually got partnered that time. So if that's the case, I'm actually pretty upset about it because over the course of my streaming career, I was trying really hard to just get partnered myself. That's that was one of my goals in Twitch.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So I had a lot of opportunities to join teams and stuff to just get partnered through a team. And I basically turned all those down because I'm just a stubborn idiot. So, you know what? I really don't know. I don't know if I got partnered through my team or not.
It seems like you're just figuring this out. You're like, wait, I just found out. I'm pissed.
Yeah, I just found out that I'm upset. But yeah.
All right. So it's good to take a look at what happened previous. I always like to look at large streamers and see what did you do when you had 30 viewers. Because it's kind of hard. Like, I guess it goes back to talking to your parents and your parents say, I was your age once, and then you're like, no way, no you weren't, kind of thing. Like it's cool to think about that my 50-something-year-old parent or 40-something, 30-something, however old you are in chat or listening to this podcast, about when your parent was just 16 years old or 19 years old. What did they do? And that's one of the things I'm most interested in is what if I could talk to Pokemon or XQC or even Day 9 or something like that and be like, what are your first days of streaming like? And just to learn those things, I think it's very valuable I think people might want to learn those things because that's something that people don't really talk about, right?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I don't know if you watch One Piece. Do you watch One Piece, like the anime?
It's too intimidating
so
for
in
me.
one, okay, so in One Piece, basically all of the characters, so they're all pirates, right? And they all have a certain amount of bounty on their head, right? So like the amount of money that their head is worth to the government, and the higher your bounty, essentially what that means is the more powerful you are, right? So the power level is kind of is determined relatively by how much your bounty is. Now on Twitch, I think about that a lot, where it's like your bounty on Twitch is essentially your viewership, right?
Yep.
And the thing about viewership on Twitch is that someone who has 10 times the viewership that you have, their stream is essentially 10 times, 10 times more valuable or 10 times more efficient. So it's like for one person who has 10 times more viewership, you need 10 of yourself to essentially make up for that amount of viewership or the amount of money that you're working at, and obviously those numbers are not, they don't necessarily work that way in real life, but sometimes I look at XQC or Pokimane or any of these like gigantic streamers with like 20,000, a Summit 1G, and I'm just like, they can stream 1 hour, and that's like essentially my whole year there.
Yeah, I was speaking of that, I was watching Tim the Tatman the other day, and he was talking about, and someone in his chat asked him, do you realize that the people in chat right now could fill up an entire football stadium with you in the middle of it, and we're just all sitting there right now? Like, that's actually what's happening. And he's like, no, I don't want to think about that. He's like, I'm not an outgoing person. You know how he talks if you've ever seen him before. He's like,
sure.
Screw that, dude. Like, I'm not an outgoing person. I would hate that. Just put me right here in my room and I'm good to go. Like, but it really puts into perspective, like, he's really talking in the middle of a football stadium with like 100% of the seats filled.
Yep.
And just imagine what companies would even pay. This goes into esports too. What would companies pay for that kind of exposure? An entire football stadium for an 8-hour stream? Like, how crazy is that? Companies pay millions of dollars for a minute to be in front of that audience, right?
Exactly.
That's crazy.
So it's really strange. I think about that a lot, and I'm like, I don't think that there's any point on Twitch that any streamer stops thinking that they're a small streamer. I think that unless you're like Summit or Shroud or XQC, even if you have like, I think like, okay, so say in some world that people hit 3K viewers, right? 3K average viewers.
So let's use Day 9 as an example then.
Sure. Like a Day 9 will hit anywhere from 2 to like 4K viewers on average. And I think the thing is that he doesn't think of himself as a big streamer. It's just,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just no matter how big your viewership is, unless you're in like the top 10 streamers, you're always looking up. Never really looking down, I don't think.
That's a good thing though. I think you're always wanting to improve, and I think in a way as a streamer, if you're not looking to improve, you might just like slowly decline.
It is weird. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Streaming is weird. Streaming is weird for sure.
And it's like this weird psychological thing too. Like with like you think of Twitch chat as like just one entity, like the chat.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's like Twitch chat's always like if you type an ! Chat in my chat, you'll see how I feel about chat.
Okay.
And they're never wrong unless they're actually wrong. But it's like a whole like it's a whole like group of people. But sometimes you don't really think of it as like they're an individual. Each individual people just like sitting on their phone or like on their computer, like doing something else or vacuuming their house or watching your TV while they're taking care of your kids. Like I always kind of like taking a step back and thinking about each person as like they're an actual person in front of their computer watching me.
Sure.
You know, and it really puts into perspective too. Like the whole perspective argument, or it's not even an argument. It's just like a concept of like Day 9 having 2,000 to 4,000 viewers, and looking up at whoever has 5,000 or 10,000 or something like that, and going, man, I wish I was at that level. I wish I was doing things on that kind of scale.
Yeah.
Right? You hear that word thrown around, right? Scale.
Yeah.
But when you're in, it's the same concept as if you're at 10 viewers and you're like, I really want to raid someone with 25 viewers. Like, this is so cool. And I was in that position before. I mean, I think every streamer was. At one point, I was at 7 viewers, and I was like, "Come on, chat, let's get to 10." And I actually said that 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Let's get to 10, and I got to 11 that day, and I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
Was there a situation in one of your streams where you were like, "Holy crap! I'm like doing it. I'm like doing what I wanted to do." Like, was it when you hit partner, or was it maybe after that? Talk about like that kind of like moment where you're just like, "Holy crap! I think I might be doing it."
I think the thing about when I hit partner was that it took so long and it was so rough to get there that honestly, I was really bitter when I hit partner. I was like,
I did it.
You know, whatever. It's just I'm like pretty upset about this. I'm not even gonna celebrate. I'm just upset. So
no tweets, no nothing, no like I made partner screenshot. It was just like, yeah, whatever. I wanted this for like 8 months. Thank you, finally. Good lord.
I think it was one tweet. Yeah, it was just a tweet. That's it.
Got like 1.5 likes.
Yep. But I can't really acknowledge any specific moments, but throughout my streaming career, honestly, there was one point where I was like, I think I was watching Frodan stream Hearthstone on Twitch, and he didn't stream very much. He just streamed very sporadically, and he'd get maybe like 100 viewers or something like that whenever he streamed. And I was like, whoa, that is so cool. I would be so happy if someday I could get to a point where if I just turn on my stream randomly and get 100 viewers watching me do whatever I do, I would be content with that. And the thing is that, you know, that was a long time ago. And then now I'm like 700 viewers. Is my stream dying? Is this dying? Like, what is going on here?
Twitch chat, where are you at?
Yeah.
I haven't seen 100 emotes. I only saw 79 today. What's going on?
Exactly. I'm like, oh, time to find a real job. You know.
I mean, for me, I mean, I'm at the point right now where like I don't really see it in the teens anymore. But if I ever see it like going like, you know, if I'm at 30 something, 40 something, 50 something, like dip down to 17 for a half second, I'd be like, wait, is my stream over? No one likes me anymore. What am I gonna do? So I'm like, I gotta think of something new. I gotta innovate. I don't know. I guess that thing in me where I'm just like, I always keep wanting to improve. I don't know. I don't know what it
Humans
is.
are greedy, man.
What was that?
Humans are extremely greedy. Humans are extremely greedy. Yeah.
Is it greedy when you have 3,000 viewers and you want to get to 5,000? Is that greedy?
I guess it depends on your definitions. I mean, I personally don't see anything wrong with greed. I think it's good to be greedy, and it's good to be it's good to be greedy if you are honest with your greed. If you're greedy and you're trying to do it, you know, in the name of justice or whatever, it's really annoying. But if you're honest with greed, it's fine.
I have an interesting question to ask you. And you might not know the answer to this, or maybe have never thought about it. But what do you think the relationship is between greed and humility?
Humility. That's not even a word in my dictionary that I use. Humility. So
wait, what does that word again? Can you open a dictionary real quick?
It's actually really funny. So the thing is that I think it was a few months ago that my chat basically had an intervention with me, and I learned the hard way that I was not a humble streamer. I thought for the longest time I was a humble streamer. I had no idea that actually people saw me as like conceited and like full of myself and stuff. I was like, what the heck? Me?
You're like,
I'm not humble? It's like, I'm the most humble. I'm the most humble streamer out of anyone. I'm the best. I'm the best at being humble. What are you talking about?
And even just saying that is not humble.
Yeah, so I've got no idea. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Strider says it's so hard to pretend to be humble. I'm the most humble streamer you've ever met. I'm the best humble streamer.
Absolutely. And I had no idea. That was a really rude awakening for me.
Was it just someone, was it someone in your chat that was like, dude, get off your horse, man?
It was
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, it's like reality versus perspective. But yeah, who knows? Humility? I guess I don't know it.
That is the best answer I've heard. I almost snorted too. That's the best answer I've ever heard. What's your relationship between greed and humility? Greed.
Yes.
More confused than humble. Greedy and confused. No. Let's talk about your outside of gaming and Magic and Hearthstone and streaming in general. Let's talk about something about your IRL life that you don't seem to have much of nowadays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where are you from? How was your childhood? How did you grow up? If you're comfortable talking about those things, go ahead.
My childhood and growing up is extremely complicated. I've moved a lot. So I'm turning 30 this year.
Congrats.
30 years old. Thank you. Basically, death is right around the corner,
Your name is DEATHSIE,
so,
after all.
Yep. And I have moved probably about 30 times. About 30 times in my life.
30?
Yeah. So there were some years when I was much younger where we'd be moving like 3-4 times a year. A lot of it was from my parents' work and stuff. But it's a really convoluted kind of childhood story, So I lived all over SoCal. I lived in NorCal a bit. I lived multiple places here in Texas, which is where I'm at right now, in Houston, Texas. And I went to school in England for about 5 years, where I did a lot of esports stuff as well. That's basically where I got my esports start. And before that, I honestly like barely even considered myself a gamer. I barely considered myself a gamer, and I had heard about esports and stuff, but I didn't really think about it. Hearthstone was like my first esports type game. Because before that, I was playing I played some Magic the Gathering, I played Tetris, I played Mahjong, and I played like these random JRPGs and stuff. Just random console games. And none of those games were ever esports, until Hearthstone. So it was Hearthstone in England. That's where I got my esports start. But overall, I've lived in a lot of places, moved around a lot.
What are some of your favorite places that you lived in? I'm going to say favorite places outside of the U.S. We can talk about the U.S. after.
Okay. I think so. I went to school at Durham University in Northeast England, and Durham is just right under Newcastle, which is where I think Newcastle beer comes from. And that place was really awesome. So my university was so the center of my university was a cathedral. It was a cathedral next to a castle inside of a moat. That was the city center. Yeah. So if you Google up any pictures of Durham, Durham.
You're like Durham, North Carolina.
Durham, England. No, yeah, not North Carolina.
Spelled the same.
But Durham, England. Yeah, it's kind of the same, but one has a moat. So it's pretty sweet.
Every time you say moat, I just think of the Magic card. I need to get off Magic the Gathering.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So what was the experience of that? Talk about your experience at that school.
yeah, I mean, it was an interesting school. There were a lot of international students, which most of the time the international students kind of hung out with each other. It was kind of cliquey, where it was like the British kids would hang out with like amongst themselves, and then the international students would hang out amongst themselves. But it was cool. It was cool. I mean, I studied sociology there. It was a lot of fun. Had a lot of good memories there.
You studied sociology there, but then you said you have a marketing degree. How did you get into marketing?
Yes. So I mean, so basically, I say marketing, but that's how I use sociology essentially. So I use it as essentially demographic analysis and to kind of understand, like trends and build plans for companies and stuff like that. So I also have my master's degree in sociology from the London School of Economics. So it's like a sociology degree with economics and like marketing stuff underlying the degree.
That's got to help you with thinking about your stream and planning on certain things and looking at statistics and learning about demographics that watch your stream. It's got to help you in your stream in some way, right?
Yeah, kind of. Though when it comes to my own personal stream, I don't really do that much analysis. I'm just like, okay, well, I just want to do this.
Who needs analysis when you just have greed?
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's like dentists, for example. So dentists often don't have great teeth.
Really?
Which is weird, right? Yeah. So oftentimes dentists don't have great teeth because even though dentists they really care about the patient's teeth, especially when they're getting money for it, they don't necessarily care about their own teeth. It's the same thing as demographic analysis and using my actual background for my own stream. It's like I'll do it for money for other people, but when it comes to my own stream, I'll be like, yeah, whatever. Yeah.
But also, when you think about dentistry, it's like, would you personally go to a dentist, and you happen to see the dentist before you actually got work done by him, and he just had awful teeth? Like, would you go to that dentist?
I mean, it happens when you go get haircuts a lot, right? Like you go to like some sort of hairstylist, and they don't have like the world's best haircut or anything. They don't have like necessarily a great haircut or anything, but you get your haircut anyways.
By someone who just had the worst hair?
I mean, people wouldn't walk out, right? Like people wouldn't walk out. I don't think people care that much.
You don't?
Yeah.
Would you go to a tattoo shop and the person getting to do your tattoo had 0 tattoos?
I'd be down with it. I'd be down. Yeah.
But you're a statistical anomaly.
Exactly. Yes. So as Striderson says, but most tattoo artists have some horrible tattoos.
Oh, they really do.
It's like some of those tattoos, it's like, what happened there? Did you lose a bet to like your 6-year-old or something?
No, like they did it themselves when they were like 12.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like they had this one group of friends when they were like in their freshman in high school, and they all wanted to tat each other because they couldn't
exactly.
Get an tattoo, so they just like take a pen and dig.
There's a lot of stories like that, So.
Oh yeah. Well, so that's one place that you like to live, right? You like to live in England.
Yeah.
Is there another one of your favorites outside of the U.S.?
Well, so living in England, I don't really recommend London. I think it's just too expensive, and it's not that exciting. It's just like any normal Western city. Other places I've been where I've not necessarily lived, but I've been, I think Porto and Lisbon in Portugal, really, really awesome. I liked Barcelona and Valencia in Spain. Korea was a lot of fun. So I was just there for 8 months. Seoul is pretty cool. Yeah, Seoul's pretty cool, but I highly recommend Busan in Korea if anybody goes. It's like on the southern tip of the southeastern tip of Korea, and it's awesome. Awesome.
Is it just from the people or the food or just like what about it is so cool and memorable?
Yeah, so in Seoul, people are kind of like New Yorkers, where everyone's just kind of minding their own business and they're going about their day. in Busan, it feels almost like I don't know. It feels almost like you're in LA maybe 15 years ago, where people just like talk to each other and stuff. I don't know how LA is like these days. I think it's like New York now, but
LA,
yeah,
where
people used to talk to
okay,
each other.
okay, you heard it here first. LA,
Yeah.
where people talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly. LA, where people talk to each other. It was like that when I grew up in SoCal. Okay,
All right.
people used to talk to each other and stuff like that. I think that it's not really like that anymore. But yeah, so you're just walking down the street and like people are talking to each other, and it's just I don't know. It feels awesome. The ocean is there as well. It's just if you like seafood, there's a lot of seafood there. The nightlife is amazing. Just there are like entire streets just dedicated to drinking, and it's awesome.
Wouldn't you just call that downtown of like any major city?
So it's not only downtown, but there are like designated streets to get drunk. Like there's like literally a street called Drunk Street.
Like this is where you go if you want to get drunk. You don't go anywhere else. You go to this
it's just-
place.
Exactly. And that's only one of the technically drunk streets. So just really great times. Busan is awesome. Awesome.
Now there's a like you're giving me like awesome vibes of like other places in the world being like, you know, just like very fun and cool places to be around. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Portugal, like nothing. I guess it's just not it's not popularized in American society. I guess like when you think of Portuguese, you just think of Brazil. Like you don't really think of like Portugal. What is your favorite part about you named a couple cities in Portugal? What do you like about Portugal?
Oh my gosh. So if you ever go to Lisbon in Portugal, there's this place, and I can never say it. Let's see. It's called It's called Patéis de Nada. So it's basically the origin of Portuguese egg tarts.
Okay.
And it is unbelievable. Actually unbelievable. The absolute best egg tart that you will ever have in your life. I don't know if you ever had an egg tart.
I don't think I've had an egg tart. I mean, I could have, but I don't think I have. What is it? Is it a dessert?
Yeah, it's like a dessert, and it's like this sort of flaky puff pastry on the outside, and a custard, creamy egg, like cream or custard on the inside, and it's baked and then finished, I think, with like a blowtorch.
So is it like kind of a sweet empanada dessert?
Yeah, kind of like that, but it's really creamy. It's really creamy with like a very eggy tone to it.
So like instead of it being like deep fried and just like meat inside of it or beans or whatever you put in I almost said enchilada, in an empanada, it's just like baked and there's just creamy goodness custard inside.
Yeah. It is amazing. So once you take a bite into it, you will see the pearly gates of heaven open up in front of you. It is amazing. It is, oh my goodness. So normally I can't eat that much in terms of sweets. Like I can't really eat more than like a slice of cake, for example. But there, I straight up. So they sell like a dozen egg tarts, and every day I would just eat a dozen egg tarts.
How big are these each?
They're like pretty big, probably like the size of like your palm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they sell about a dozen of those.
Yeah, so they sell a dozen of them in like a cardboard, almost like a Pringles can type thing, you know?
All right, I can see that in my head. Yes, Pringles.
Yeah, so like Pringles. A cardboard box kind of thing. It's elongated with every single egg tart stacked on top of each other, and it is the most amazing thing. I would definitely put it on your bucket list for places to go.
So now I have a couple things on my bucket list now, right?
Yeah.
I have Busan on my bucket list, and then I have this place in Portugal. What's it called again?
So you'll find it in Lisbon, and it's called Patéis de Nada.
Pastéis de Nada. Yeah, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, Patéis de Nada.
Oh my gosh, let's try to make him say it again. Say it
Yeah,
again, DEATHSIE.
Portuguese is way too hard. Portuguese is way too hard.
Yeah, Portuguese is super hard. Well, that you named a couple of things. Do you have any more honorable mentions or anything, or we can move on to the next subject? I mean, I do like learning about all these cities.
No. Any other honorable mentions?
Well, let's go ahead and talk about one place in the U.S. I mean,
okay.
Unless it's just Southern California.
I think my favorite place in the U.S. is probably San Fran, but it's so damn expensive there.
I've been to a lot of places in the U.S., but I've never been to San Fran.
I just love San Francisco. I love the kind of like you get that ocean breeze with the bay there as well. I used to drive a lot. I used to love to drive up into the mountains at night and just kind of like look over the entire bay with all the lights and stuff reflecting off the water. It's just one of the most awesome places ever. And being a vegetarian, there's a lot of food I can eat there. Really, really awesome stuff. Yeah, just one of my favorite places ever. But it's really expensive. I don't know about that.
One place that I think of that's maybe like that. I don't know if it's really that expensive, but I've been to Seattle, and it's kind of giving me some of those Seattle vibes there. I think like being on the ocean there. It doesn't even snow, but it gets really cold. I spent 4 days there, or maybe it was 5 days in Seattle, and it was just like still I think my second favorite state I've ever been.
Okay.
First being Florida, and I live in Florida. I might be biased.
Wow. Okay.
I might be biased.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about moving to Seattle potentially in the future, but I'm not sure yet.
Why is that on your list to move to Seattle?
Yeah, so it has that kind of similar vibe, as you said, to San Fran, but it's a lot cheaper. And by a lot cheaper, I mean like still pretty expensive. Yeah. And also, Seattle apparently does not have roaches. I cannot deal with roaches in Texas and Florida.
Seattle doesn't have roaches?
Yeah, apparently Seattle has no roaches.
No, that's a stat. If you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this on a podcast, move to Seattle. If you have roaches, you won't get them. I know that in Florida, in like every single house, there's roach traps everywhere. Just like you have to.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared of roaches.
And you live in Texas.
Yeah, I hate it. I want out.
I want out. You're in bars. I mean, you've been to 30 countries. You might as well.
Yeah.
But you do you have roach traps in your house or your apartment wherever you stay at? You have to.
I think we get an exterminator. Yeah, so we have an exterminator, and I think that's been all right. I think that there's some traps or something, but I don't touch that. I don't touch that. So
I can just imagine you just jumping on a chair or something, screaming, bloody murder.
There have been a lot of moments on stream when I'm streaming, and like a roach crawls across like the ceiling or the wall, and I just jump. I jump like it's a Tom and Jerry cartoon or something. You know what I mean?
Where you like literally jump out of your skin, where it's like you head in the air for a split second.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh.
So
that's funny.
Extremely terrifying.
Let's go back to Magic here. What is your favorite color combination?
My favorite color combination? I feel like it's evolved over time. But the color combination I'm most well known for is probably blue-black.
All right, what's your okay? Blue-black's what you're known for.
Mm-hmm.
What was your original favorite, or maybe your pet favorite, even if it's not like a good color combination right now?
Yeah. So in the beginning of Magic, I loved playing 5-color. Just 5-color stuff because I thought it was so funny to just pay no respect kind of to the colors in Magic. You know, like I play whatever I want.
Powerful card in the game.
Exactly. I just play whatever I want, and you're not going to tell me what to do.
Sliver Queen?
You know, over time, I kind of grew an appreciation for blue. I liked like rampy stuff in green. Later on in life, I really liked black in Magic because black offered like kind of a nice balance between aggressiveness and control. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times black was like very flexible in that sense. But these days, honestly, I feel like maybe part of the reason why, you know, a lot of people who are liberal when they're younger, they grow up and then they become conservative. I feel like I'm like that with Magic. Like these days now, I'm just a red mage. You know, like I'm just a red mage. Like, I love just burning people out. Like I don't have time to play out this long, drawn out 40-minute control matchup. You know what I mean? I want to play my red deck. I want to kill you in 2 minutes.
Move on.
Move on.
Game.
Like I've got a meeting to go to. You know what I mean? Like ain't nobody got time for that.
I mean, if you're playing like a Dimir control mirror match, like in the stream league that we just played yesterday, in the top 4 there was a Dimir control matchup where it was Crows playing against someone else, and I forgot the name. I wish I could remember off the top of my head, but it was a Dimir mirror match, and I tell you that match lasted like over an hour. And if you have a meeting coming up, you're just like, listen, I gotta get to this meeting. You're like looking at your watch, looking at your phone, everywhere that can tell the time, and like if there wasn't an actual timer and you would lose the match if you ran out of time, it could last like 2 hours. And that's not even exaggerating. I don't think if there wasn't a timer, would it last 2 hours? I think it would. But when you're a red mage, I really honestly thought you were gonna say Boros. I was gonna have to kick you off the podcast. But you know, with mono red, you can just
white ruining my mono red.
You can have a meeting in like 2.5 minutes and be done.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I think now. I'm like, you know, people who play control have no respect for their opponent's time. Get a job. Oh, yeah. Like, what are you doing here? Sometimes I've played some games, especially in Ravnica Allegiance. So I drafted a lot of Clear the Mind decks, which took a long time because essentially those decks just won with naturally decking your opponent often. Yeah, and decking them out without any accelerated mill. It's just draw 1 per turn, and that's how you deck them out.
Oh no! In draft?
And yes, in draft. In draft. So essentially, the idea is that you had 2 copies of a card called Clear the Mind, and you would just never deck out.
Because you clear the mind, the other clear the mind.
Yeah, you clear the mind, the other clear the mind, and then you would never deck out. So there were a lot of games where I just naturally decked my opponent's 40 cards. You know, sometimes they thought that they'd be smart and they would have like 50 cards or something, and all that did was just was just increase the amount of pain that they had to suffer. Yeah,
they would all that did was just make it last 10 turns longer.
And sometimes I'm like, what are these people doing? This is my job. Don't you have a job? Like, how can you just sit here for like 2 hours playing me?
You're like, I'm streaming this. I'm doing this for my job. You are probably not doing this. Why are you still here?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's major Strider Stone energy there. Just like the only win condition is your opponent conceding because you don't have one.
Yep.
And just getting the satisfaction from that. So I guess Embercleave's your best friend, or do you ever play constructed Magic, or is it just draft?
Never. I never. These days. So back in the day, I used to play constructed quite a lot, just because you couldn't draft all the time. You know, you could draft maybe once a week at your FNM, but for the most part, if you wanted to play more Magic, it had to be constructed, right? And you had to do something with the cards. Anyways, so back in the day, I played a lot of constructed, but these days, you know, I can just play limited as much as I want. So I just don't need to ever play constructed, and I don't. So
well, I mean, you could play constructed as much as you want too. You can play either one as much as you want. Yeah,
exactly. But to me, constructed is not the reason that I play Magic. So I'm really happy to just be able to play limited all the time.
Well, but it was originally the reason why you played Magic, right? Did you ever do the draft style in Hearthstone, or were you just like a Hearthstone spike?
Yeah, so in Hearthstone, I started out with Arena, which is the draft format, and I played that a lot. Format. Yeah, exactly. So the crypt format, and I played that a lot. And it was really interesting because it was the very first month of Hearthstone that I played. So I got super addicted to Hearthstone Arena, the drafts, and I was drafting. I probably played that mode like 20 hours a day in the first week that I found it.
Arena?
Yeah.
Wow.
I absolutely loved it. Like, it was so much fun. Some of the most fun I've ever had in my life, honestly, looking back on it. And at some point, I was really bad when I first started playing Hearthstone, even with a Magic background. I was really, really bad. So I ran out of gold to buy into more drafts, and I'd already spent like $50 or whatever.
Oh no.
So I looked at the cards I got, and I was like, huh, I'll just build this random mage deck. And the random mage deck almost got me to Mythic in the very first week that I played, just like with my random free-to-play cards.
And for those of you that Legend, right?
Yes, Legend.
Yeah. I know Mythic's just a Magic arena term, but I would think that you would just have Major Chillwind Yeti vibes. Like in the first, you played it when Hearthstone just came out, so like Chillwind Yeti was a card, right? It was good.
It was during Goblins versus Gnomes, so I think that was maybe like a year or two into Hearthstone. So
I started playing Hearthstone. I played Hearthstone for a little bit too. I played in Old Gods format.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't play before that with like the Blackstone or whatever it's called, Blackstone Mountain.
Dark Rock. Wait, hold on.
Something.
Blackridge Mountain.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It was after that, and then Old Gods just came out, and so it was like Cthulhu crazy and stuff. And I love the first thing that I started playing was Arena 2 because I just love building decks.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why that hasn't transitioned over to Magic. I think it's because when I stopped playing Hearthstone, I started playing more competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And then I was a Yu-Gi-Oh! Spike. Like I knew all the great Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. Like one of the judges that had judged the Worlds tournament was like a 15-minute drive away from me. So we would go to the same LGS, and so I met all of his friends, and then they were all the best players. So I got to, I became friends with all the best players in Yu-Gi-Oh! So, I became one of the best players. And I got sponsored and moved and went from city to city in the United States playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And I also had to pay for my own jersey.
Nice.
So I paid for my own jersey with my name on the back. And then the worst part about it is when I got off the team, the leader of the team is asking for the shirt back now. Like,
what the?
I don't know why.
That's
but
so
it has
weird.
My name on the back. Like it's his jersey with the esports logo on it with my name on the back. Like they have another James or something. Like I don't know. I don't know if they have another James. Like why would he want the shirt back? It has my name on the back and I paid for it.
That's weird.
Yeah. Anyway, so I came from that kind of background as well, and then super into it. There was a deck that I piloted to third place of one of the biggest events called YCS's, and but then after that, I started playing Magic, and if you're familiar with the company Cool Stuff Inc., that's my LGS.
Oh, okay.
And they're a huge store, and the thing is that I couldn't play Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! At the same time because they happen at the same time on the same day of the week. So Friday Night Magic was at like 7 p.m. Or no, it was at 6:30, and then Yu-Gi-Oh! Started at 7 p.m. on Fridays. So I had to like choose which one I had to pick. But the thing is, Cool Stuff kind of like favors the Magic community because Magic cards make them more money than Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards do. So it like kind of makes sense to favor Magic.
Okay.
So I was like, well, let me try this Magic thing. One of my other friends wanted to play too, and so I started playing Magic, and I just never went back to Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay.
And that's where I am now. But so I went from like super casual Hearthstone playing Arena to super spike Yu-Gi-Oh! And also someone in chat right now, Batsmack, is just way better than me at Yu-Gi-Oh! And is also in the same group of friends and has a bunch of like super top 8 this, top 8 that. But and then I went from like kind of spike, kind of casual streamer Magic. Like I don't know how do you even like, are you a spike or are you a casual when you stream Magic? Like what? Give me your perspective. Like what do you think you do? Like what kind of person do you think you are? We talk about Bobbies, right? Is that what you are? Are you a Bobby?
Yeah. So the thing is that so if it's a really competitive tournament or something, then I'll try my best and I'll be like the most absolute spike. but it's different because the thing is that what I think is good is always different from what everybody else thinks is good, which I think is part of why people watch my stream, because they're like, how can this guy be so wrong or is this so different than everybody else?
I thought you were going to say so good. It would go along with the persona.
Yeah, I think the thing is that so a lot of my viewers have admitted that in the beginning, they stayed because they were curious to just how dumb I was and just how wrong I was about certain things. But then over time, they got they got essentially converted. And a lot of my viewers have told me now that they can't actually watch anyone else draft because I'm the only one who drafts correctly.
Really?
Yeah. And it's hard because I've lost a lot of older players as well, like a lot of older viewers who are extremely stubborn, and they're like, I've played Magic this way for 30 years. Kid, you have no idea what you're talking about, kind of thing.
30-year-old kid.
Yeah, so that is something that happens quite frequently in my channel.
All right, we can talk about that. Let's talk about that. How I think people will get value out of this. How do you draft that's so five-head in your streams compared to how someone like LSV or Ben Stark or people like that, that kind of people watch to say this is how these are the best drafters, right? And I know you are one of them as well. How do you draft that's different from them? Like, how is your what is your norm for drafting Magic? Let's talk about like just call time. Let's talk about call time draft right now. What do you do in draft? How do you draft or how do you play that's different than what is the norm?
Sure. Okay. So I think what the norm is that people normally look at cards as cards being good or bad, rather than looking at how bad or how good these cards are, and also where they can be good and where these good cards can be bad. So I know that might be a little bit confusing there, but essentially it's trying to deconstruct this entire philosophy we have about how good a card is. Because a lot of times, especially when it comes to drafting and limited, you can have a good card that is bad in your deck and have bad cards that are good in your deck. And one of the interesting things is trying to understand all of the different lines and dimensions that you can potentially take, all of the paths, and where those cards fit. So I think that one of the things that I do differently is that a lot of times I will pick cards that seem strange, but they make a lot of sense with the deck, and people are like, why are you picking that card over this other card when this other card is like the best, like the best blue common in the format or whatever? So essentially what I try to do is have almost a more academic approach to Magic, where the sort of discourse we have talking about good cards, bad cards, I try to go beyond that. So I think I've succeeded quite well in the way that we talk about Magic. And over time, I think that the average skill level of my Twitch chat has increased due to, due to having a different philosophy, a different take on the way that we talk about Magic that is different than how we've done it for the last 30 years.
Okay, let me talk a little bit deeper than that. All right, let's talk about cards. What is a situation where you don't draft Binding the Old Gods?
Quite frequently. Yeah, almost all the time. Like, Binding the Old Gods for me is a fine card. Yeah, so Binding of the Old Gods is a fine card for me. Nothing special though. Nothing special. Like, I'm gonna pick a lot of cards over it.
Like, what does your deck have to be constructed like already? Like, say it's Pack 2, right? What does your deck already have to look like for you to not pick Binding of the Old Gods in your colors? Like, you're already in Golgari.
So, I mean, there's quite a lot of cards that I pick over it. I think so. If I have a lot of 2-drops, I'll probably pick up a Struggle of Scamfar over it. Struggle is basically a fight spell. But the interesting thing about Struggle with 2-drops is that if you have a lot of 2-drops, then you can foretell Struggle for Scamfar on turn 2. Turn 3, play a 2-drop and fight a creature. So a lot of times against most decks, that'll just win you the game. That will give you the initiative for the rest of the game.
Even if you're on the draw, yeah.
Binding, yeah, so whereas like Binding of the Old Gods is going to be a lot better if you have 6-drops, right? So if you have like a bunch of Lindworms and stuff and your 4-drop slot is really open, playing Binding of the Old Gods to get to 6 mana, you're going to have an additional benefit there. But it's really important in Limited to look at not only how good a card is, but how they play with the other cards and how they're expected to play with the other cards.
And how does that differ from what you think other people like, the other really good drafters? I don't know. The ones that come on top of my head is Ben Stark, LSV, and oh gosh, I forgot the name off the top of my head. Let's talk about those two then.
Okay.
Not even just them specifically, but just like that idea of like the drafter that everyone watches, right? How does your philosophy differ from what you think theirs is?
Okay. So I think the most important thing that I do differently than top tier gamers is that I am less afraid to lose. So in the beginning of a format, honestly, what I love to do is I love playing bad cards. If I think a card is bad, I'm going to try to see how bad it is. You know what I mean? Exactly how bad it is to get a good idea of it. And through that process, a lot of times I break the game. So a lot of the times I find the broken stuff because I'm willing to lose, because I'm willing to experiment. And a lot of times on my stream, I call it science, right? Like Kaldheim was one of the greatest formats for me, not because I think it's a good set, but because the exploration and the science part of it was extremely interesting for me. So in this format, Gold Vein Pick is a card that I think is universally accepted as one of the core cards of the format. Mm-hmm. It's essentially a 2-mana short sword, but it makes a mana when you connect to the opponent's face. And that was a card that we played a lot of when everyone was still drafting Snow and everyone was still trying to do like this random 5-color stuff. We were 5 colors as a mono white deck, just flashing off of treasures. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It would be like a mono white deck smacking you with birds and picks. And then all of a sudden, with not a single island, just casting Run Ashore on your creatures. It is extremely toxic.
That's like,
you know what I mean? Like, how do you play around that?
Double blue.
Yeah, like how do you play around that? I had some decks. It was like a Boros deck with I think 3 picks. It was like splashing for like 2 Run Ashores, Awakening the Trolls, Akaya, just splashing for everything. You know what I mean? And so it's part of that process that we get to the point where we're at now, where it's like, okay, so now we have all the science and all the research, and the cost to the science and the research is losing. You know what I mean? And I think that the problem is that a lot of the higher level players are not willing to lose. They're not willing to try out stuff. They just want to win. And partially probably because people expect them to win, right? People are like, well, I come here to watch you win, Ben.
Yep.
You know, for people who want to go to Ben Stark's stream. And I understand that for a certain extent
too. Maybe that's actually just true to a certain extent that if they start losing, that they'll, people will stop watching them. Maybe it's just psychological.
Exactly. So for me, it's like, well, I'm here to lose.
You're like, people, come watch me lose. Send me your emotes.
Exactly. So that's kind of the different philosophy I have for most of the players. And I don't know.
And by no means am I picking on like Ben Stark or LSV or anything like that.
Oh, no, for sure.
Your difference in play for sure. Which I think is very interesting. What besides Gold Vein Pick, is there any other card that you were that like people just like universally thought that like kind of sucked that you were like, I'm going to try this, and it was ended up being like a lot better than you expected, and you really like playing it now?
In Kaldheim, huh? In Kaldheim.
That's maybe not like Packmate or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I think my next bet for like the hottest take of the format is that Cinderheart Giant. Cinderheart Giant is just like your run-of-the-mill stupid giant monster in the format, right? It's a 7-mana 7/6 in red that has trample. When it dies, it'll deal 7 damage to something randomly. It's basically a Hearthstone card. I think that card is actually one that that card is actually just one of the top commons of the format. Like, it's not going to be like a top 10 common, but it's going to be like a top 20 common. Like, Cinderheart Giant is extremely underrated. Also, in the same deck as the Giants deck, Carfell Harbinger, 2-mana 1/3 that you can tap to add a blue mana, and that's either gonna help you cast an instant or sorcery or help you foretell a card. So those two cards I think are the most vastly underrated cards in the format right now. Even after like the format's been out for how long now? Is it 2 months or something?
I think it's 2 months, I think.
Yeah, so even after 2 months, people still have no idea what's going on. which is funny, right? Because you don't change the cards or anything in limited. Like, the cards are just there.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's one specific stream I was watching. It was go figure, it's one of Ben Stark's streams, and he was talking about the Harbinger that you're talking about, the 2-mana 1/3. And he was just like, I'll never pick this card. I don't think this card's that good. And he just like never picks it.
Yeah.
Never picks it. And that's really interesting that you think it's like one of the, top 10 or 20 commons that you could pick.
Yep.
I mean, I guess like it has to work with your deck. I mean, you're not just gonna pick it with a creature deck or something, but a lot of creatures have foretell already, so like you can even do that. Would you pick the Harbinger if you just had like not many instants and sorceries, but you had like a lot of foretell creatures, just to, like play it on turn 2?
Yeah, for sure. One of the biggest weaknesses of foretell is that it's awkward. It's extremely awkward mana wise. But if you have a Harbinger and it lets you not only block, like there's a lot of 2/1s and 2/2s in the format that it blocks actually quite well. But in addition to that, if it lets you manipulate your mana curve, it's just extremely good. Giants, especially blue-red Giants, is a deck that lacks a lot of early game stuff. So it's basically the perfect card to help you get to play Magic. A lot of my Harbinger games. A lot of my games, Harbinger is like the only reason I can win it. That I can win any of my games, to be honest.
All right, well, duly noted. If anyone's a player in here if anyone's a draft player in here, you write that one down.
Yeah, really, really, really good. I think the last card that I want to give an honorable mention to in the format is actually Carter's Vicious Return.
I like that card a lot.
Yeah, 4-mana Rakdos Saga. So the idea with that is, once again, you play Cinderheart Giants.
Deal 7 damage to random.
Yeah, so you basically just hasten Cinderheart Giants. It's really good, but black-red is not a really good color combination in the format, unfortunately. But it's a really powerful card. I think it's extremely underrated.
I had it in a Teamer deck that I played, and I just splashed black off like a land and a couple fixers. And I had 2 Carter's Returns in my deck, and I had like a couple,
yeah.
And I had a couple death triggers in my deck, and I had resolved Carter's Vicious Return on a U, and then I searched up Cinderheart Giant off of it.
Nice.
So sack it, deal 3 damage, search the Cinderheart, and then a couple turns later bring back the Rootless U. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah,
and I just splash black for it. So
when you have 2 Carter's Vicious Returns, you can really kind of build the deck around it. It's really good.
Yeah, it was super sweet. I have one last question here before I let you go.
Okay.
And you have to give the right answer, or you're banned from my channel.
Okay.
And you can't say crepes, and you can't say those delicious things you got in Portugal. All right.
Okay.
And you also can't say French toast.
Okay.
Pancakes or waffles?
Are we talking about frozen or not, or any?
Any, like in general, what would you prefer? Frozen, homemade, whatever. If you had both of them in front of you on a plate and you only had enough room in your stomach for one, what do you eat first?
Oh crap, man! If it's a good waffle, I take waffle, but in general, I'll take a pancake. Yeah, in general, I'll take a pancake.
Let's go, pancake gang, right here. You love to hear
I like waffles, but it's so easy to get waffles wrong.
That's exactly if you've listened to any of my other podcasts, and you have to listen to the very end of them. But if you've listened to them, I say this exact same thing that you said every time. It's really, really easy to get a waffle wrong. It's really hard to get a pancake wrong.
Exactly, and that's the same reason. The same reason I like rice over noodles.
You because like the thing is that noodles. Excuse me.
Yes, I like rice over noodles. The reason being, noodles can be very good, but you can never get rice wrong. Like rice.
Yes. Oh yes, you can get rice wrong. Oh yes, you can.
Not if you're Asian. Not if you're Asian. Asian people can't make rice wrong.
Oh no. Oh no. I know firsthand that it's definitely possible to get rice wrong because the first time I made rice, it was literal goo. And then the second time I made rice, I was like, let's not make it like goo. And I burned the bottom of it black.
All right.
Both times wrong.
I see. Huh.
We now know that DEATHSIE prefers rice over noodles. Okay, that's wrong. That's objectively wrong. But anyways, we have another Waffle Gang member in DEATHSIE. I'll remember this, okay? Thank you so much for being on the StreamCast podcast today. Where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find me everywhere by searching DEATHSIE. DEATHSIE everywhere. So thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for being on episode 11 of StreamCast Podcast, and we will see you for the next StreamCast in 1 week.